This deadly spider never could have imagined that one little bite on a broke high school kid would end up destroying the person he loved most. Peter stared at the strange-looking spider, feeling like he'd seen it somewhere before. Little did he know this tiny wound was about to change his life forever. But the moment he got home, something felt off. He gave his uncle and aunt a quick hello and rushed straight to his room. As soon as he got inside, Peter felt completely dazed and lightheaded and collapsed face first onto his bed. Just then, images of the spider that bit him kept flashing through his mind. When Peter finally woke up, he realized his nearsighted eyes were suddenly perfectly fine, which completely baffled him. Then he noticed his body had gotten way more muscular, and his reflexes were unbelievably sharp. He could even chase down the school bus, fast enough to leave Usain Bolt in the dust. The only weird part was why this bus poster was stuck to his hand. But all of this was just the beginning. At lunch in the cafeteria, his crush, Mary Jane, walked right past him. His sixth sense told him something was about to happen. Sure enough, Peter reacted in a flash, catching Mary Jane with one arm and grabbing every falling item with the other. These sudden changes were totally overwhelming. He peeled a fork that was stuck to his hand and pulled out a tough, stretchy strand of web from his wrist, which shot straight at a tray across the table. He instinctively yanked it back, but the food went flying all over the school bully behind him. Oh no. Peter quickly played it cool and tried to slip out of the cafeteria, but the tray still dangling from his web had already given him away. He made it to the hallway thinking he was safe, but the bully was already storming after him looking for payback. He sensed the danger coming, tilted his head, and dodged a brutal punch. The bully swung again and again, but every single attack looked like slow motion to Peter. He dodged them all effortlessly. Another bully tried to jump him from behind, but his spider sense kicked in, and he backflipped right over it. The bully kept attacking wildly, but Peter handled every blow with ease. So he grabbed the bully's fist, gave him a light shove, and sent everyone watching into total shock. Freaked out, Peter bolted into an alley. He slowly raised his palms and saw tiny barbs covering his hands. He looked up at a spider on the wall and decided to test out his new abilities. Peter unlocked his own Pandora's box, going wild with his newfound powers. When he reached a rooftop, he suddenly remembered the web that had shot from his hand earlier, so he looked at the crane across the way.
Go, web! Fly! Up, up, and away, web! Shazam! Go! Go! Go, web, go!
He tried a bunch of hand gestures, but nothing worked. Then, by pure accident, one random gesture sent a web shooting from his wrist. So Peter aimed at the crane across the street and fired away, staring at the massive gap ahead. Peter took a deep breath and leaped. Back home, after watching Mary Jane get into the bully's car, Peter wished he had a car of his own, but after looking around, he couldn't even afford the cheapest one. That's when an ad for an underground wrestling match caught his eye. Last 3 minutes in the ring with the champ, and you walk away with $3 grand, hoping to buy a car and win Mary Jane's heart. Peter decided to sign up, and immediately got to work designing his outfit. After a whole night of sketching and tweaking, Peter finally finished a rough design for his suit. And just like that, the very first Spider-Man suit was born. Then Peter started practicing his web shooting. The commotion quickly drew Aunt May to his door. She asked what all the noise was about, and what was going on in there. Peter told her he was just working out. Once she was sure he was okay, she turned and left. Meanwhile, Peter's room was now covered in spiderwebs. Peter's strange behavior lately hadn't gone unnoticed by his uncle and aunt. They were genuinely worried about him, but didn't want to push too hard. That day, Peter said he was heading to the library, so Uncle Ben offered to drive him. The moment he heard that, Peter immediately turned him down, because he wasn't actually going to the library. But Uncle Ben insisted on giving him a ride. His real goal was just to get some one-on-one time with Peter. Peter couldn't talk him out of it, so he gave in. Before long, Uncle Ben pulled up in front of the library, just as Peter was rushing to get out. Uncle Ben stopped him. He opened up about the changes he'd noticed in Peter lately, and brought up the fight at school. Peter insisted the fight wasn't his fault. Peter was at a critical stage in his life, and Uncle Ben was terrified he might go down the wrong path. He told Peter that even if the other guy started it, that didn't give Peter the right to hit him.
Remember, with great power comes great responsibility.
But Uncle Ben's concern didn't register with Peter right away. He thought his uncle was accusing him of becoming some kind of thug. He felt completely misunderstood, and his emotions started boiling over. He lashed out at his uncle's lecture. Seeing Peter so worked up, Uncle Ben felt helpless. Peter then realized he may have gone too far. Uncle Ben didn't push it any further. He just said he'd be back to pick him up on time. After getting out, Peter didn't go to the library. He headed straight to the fighting arena. In the ring, a massive guy was brutally pummeling his opponent. The intensity of it all made Peter a little nervous. As one challenger after another got knocked out, the crowd went absolutely wild. Clearly, winning that $3,000 wasn't going to be easy. But to have any shot with Mary Jane, Peter stepped into the ring without hesitation.
The Amazing Spider-Man!
My name's the Human Spider.
I don't care, get out there.
No, you got my name wrong.
Get
you gotta
out
tell
there,
him.
you moron!
The crowd hurled trash at Peter, writing him off completely. But none of that was going to stop him from getting paid. As the steel cage lowered around the ring, the crew locked it down with chains on every side. To make sure Peter couldn't run, the bell rang, and the giant charged straight at him. Peter jumped out of the way, leaving him grabbing at air. He shot webs and dodged attacks left and right. But this guy didn't play fair. He grabbed a chair and hurled it, caught completely off guard. Peter took the hit and was totally stunned. But right at that critical moment, Peter started kicking the giant with a rapid-fire counterattack. In less than a minute, Peter won a fight everyone thought he'd lose. But naive Peter never saw this coming. The deal was $3 grand for winning the fight, but the sleazy promoter only handed him $100. His excuse? The deal was 3 minutes, and Peter only lasted 30 seconds. Peter got a harsh lesson in how these people really operate. But as a high schooler with zero real-world experience, he had no choice but to swallow his pride. Just as he turned to leave, a silver-haired thief walked into the office.
Hey, what the hell? Put the money in the bag.
He took out the promoter, grabbed a bag full of cash, and ran right past Peter. With the promoter screaming for help behind him, Peter just stood there and did nothing. He let the thief go. And even though Peter felt pretty smug about it, what he didn't know was that this would become the biggest regret of his life. While waiting for his uncle to pick him up, he stumbled upon a crime scene. Being nosy, he went to check it out, and the victim was his own uncle. What he didn't realize was that the shooter was the very thief he'd let walk away. The guilt was unbearable, but what's done was done. All he could do now was turn his grief into rage. So Peter put on his spider suit once more, and as Spider-Man hunted the killer through the city streets, he quickly tracked the thief by following the police sirens, and landed right on top of the getaway car, then punched clean through the roof. The thief fired back in a panic, but Peter dodged every single bullet. He leaped onto the hood and smashed the entire windshield to pieces. The car slammed into a wall and was totaled. The thief ditched the car and ran into a warehouse, but even then, there was no escaping Peter's vengeance. Peter took him down without breaking a sweat, and only then did he finally see the thief's face.
Thanks.
If he hadn't been so selfish, Uncle Ben would still be alive. Meanwhile, the thief was still taunting him without a shred of remorse. The justice inside Peter could no longer be contained. With just one hand, he crushed the thief's wrist. The terrifying strength sent the thief stumbling backward until he lost his footing and fell out the window. His uncle's killer was dealt with, but none of it mattered anymore. Uncle Ben was never coming back. Peter remembered the words his uncle once told him.
With great power comes great responsibility.
He finally understood what those words truly meant. From that moment on, Spider-Man patrolled every corner of the city. Wherever there was evil, he was there. Every day after school, he swung through the city fighting crime. Everyone was dying to know who this mystery hero was. He was making front-page news every single day. Since his boss Jameson couldn't get a clear shot, he put up a huge bounty for a high-quality photo of Spider-Man unmasked. And for Peter, fresh out of school, this was the perfect hustle. Every time he went out to fight crime, he'd set up a camera and snap photos of himself. Then he'd sell those exclusive shots to Jameson for cash. But Jameson was a notorious cheapskate, always finding excuses to lowball the price and shortchange Peter at every turn. Peter had no leverage, so he just took it. But a superhero's life is never peaceful. At the Oscorp Unity Festival, Peter discovered that Mary Jane, his longtime crush, was already dating his best friend Harry. Even so, he only blamed himself for never having the guts to make a move. But just then, his spider sense went haywire. The next second, a figure on a glider, the Green Goblin, launched a surprise attack on the festival. The sudden chaos sent everyone into a frenzy. Peter quickly shot a web to save a bystander, and Mary Jane was in serious danger too. It was time for Spider-Man to suit up. Meanwhile, the Green Goblin zeroed in on the board members and tossed an exploding pumpkin right at them. As Spider-Man appeared, he kicked the goblin off his glider, but the goblin's raw power was insane. He swatted the guards aside like nothing, and when Spider-Man threw his best punch, the goblin blocked it like it was a joke, then booted Spider-Man across the room. Hopping back on his glider, the goblin chased Spider-Man relentlessly. Seeing Mary Jane about to fall, Peter rushed to save her, but got slammed into a wall by the goblin. Desperate to save her, Peter webbed up the goblin's mask first, then ripped the glider apart with his bare hands. The out-of-control glider carried the goblin away from the scene. And right at that moment, Mary Jane fell. Spider-Man dove after her. The instant he caught her, he fired a web upward, bouncing off the ground and swinging back up. Then Spider-Man carried Mary Jane, soaring through the city. An absolutely iconic scene we'll never forget.
Well, She's taking the subway. Oh my gosh, she just needs to use the elevator.
Wait! Who are you?
Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
And just like that, Mary Jane fell for Spider-Man. Classic MJ, always falling for the hero. But nobody could have guessed that the Green Goblin's true identity was Norman Osborn, founder of Oscorp, and the father of Peter's best friend Harry. Not long before, Norman's company had developed cutting-edge flight technology. He wanted to sell the equipment to the military, but the brass wasn't impressed by the glider. They were, however, very interested in the human performance enhancer. One of the scientists warned the general that the enhancer was still in testing, with serious side effects. Norman cut in and overrode the scientist. He told the military the enhancer was ready for human trials, but the general didn't trust Norman and decided to pull their funding entirely, watching his life's work about to go up in smoke. Norman decided to test it on himself. He pulled out the green enhancer serum, ignoring the scientist's desperate protests. He insisted on injecting it into his own body. Seeing how determined Norman was, the scientist reluctantly agreed to help. Norman lay down on the test bed. After strapping him in, the scientist slid him into the chamber. After one final confirmation, the scientist hit the switch to release the enhancer. The vaporized serum instantly filled the entire chamber. Norman was quickly engulfed in green mist. This scientist never could have imagined that he just created a monster. Seeing Norman's violent reaction to the serum, he immediately shut it down. Then he rushed into the chamber in a panic to check on Norman. Suddenly, Norman's eyes snapped open, and he grabbed the scientist by the throat. Norman was a completely different person now. Every dark impulse inside him had been amplified. A second personality had emerged, and the scientist became his first victim, hungry for revenge. That very night, he took out the official who cut his funding, and because of that, Oscorp's funding was permanently severed. The board members scrambled for control, voted Norman out as chairman, and planned to sell the company to a competitor. That's why he wiped out the entire board at the festival, and in the process, made an enemy of Spider-Man. Determined to find Spider-Man, he barged into the newspaper office, grabbed the editor, and demanded to know who supplied the Spider-Man photos. But just then, Spider-Man showed up in the nick of time. This time, though, the Goblin came prepared. He knocked Spider-Man out with a gas attack, but he didn't finish him off. Instead, he took him away. Because he was impressed by Spider-Man's powers, he was convinced the two of them together would be unstoppable. They could rule the world if they joined forces. Obviously, Peter wasn't interested. The Goblin didn't push it. He told him to take his time and think it over. Peter didn't give the Goblin's offer a second thought. But trouble found him again soon enough. Mary Jane was cornered by a group of thugs. Luckily, Peter happened to spot them. A few webs came flying in, yanking the thugs off her one by one. Regular punks were no match for Spider-Man. He took every last one of them down in seconds. Without his mask, he kept his back to MJ. She started to chase after him, but the next second, mask on, he was hanging upside down right behind her. Grateful for all the times he'd saved her life, she pulled his mask halfway down and kissed him in the pouring rain. The next day, an apartment caught fire on a nearby street. Spider-Man arrived just in time, swung into the blazing building, and rescued a baby. Then a woman screamed for help from above. Without a second thought, he went right back in, only to realize it was a trap set by the Green Goblin. Furious that Peter rejected his offer to rule the world together, the Goblin launched razor-sharp blades at him. Peter reacted fast, but still got his arm sliced by one of the blades. He webbed the Goblin and kicked him across the room. As the building exploded, Spider-Man escaped through the flames. Since it was Aunt May's birthday, Peter didn't want to miss such an important family gathering. His best friend Harry brought Mary Jane along to celebrate, and with them was Harry's father. Peter rushed, but still showed up a step late. To keep anyone from blowing his cover, he hid just 1 second before they walked in. He barely managed to stick himself to the ceiling. One look up and he'd have been busted. He quickly changed and came in through the front door. As everyone sat down for dinner, Aunt May noticed the wound on Peter's arm. The moment she pulled up his sleeve, Norman's face went pale because he recognized it instantly. That cut was from his own blade. He immediately put down his fork, made up an excuse about something urgent, and left. That very night, the Goblin attacked Aunt May's bedroom, traumatizing her so badly she had a breakdown. Then he kidnapped Mary Jane. The Goblin gave Peter an impossible choice. On one side, the woman he loved. On the other, dozens of innocent children. Would he stay the people's hero or save the love of his life? Anyone would crack under a dilemma like that. But before Peter could even think, the Goblin dropped both at the same time. Peter leaped off the bridge and grabbed Mary Jane, then used his web to swing to the cable car and catch it too. The web clearly couldn't hold forever. Peter told Mary Jane to climb into the cable car now. The Goblin pulled out a blade ready to strike, but got pelted with random objects. Turns out the people on the bridge had come to help. Thanks to the crowd's interference, Peter managed to lower the cable car onto a passing boat. While distracted, the Goblin caught him in a cable and dragged him into an abandoned building. Then a exploding pumpkin came flying his way. The blast sent Peter crashing to the ground, and every time he got up, the goblin beat him right back down. Peter fired webs trying to restrain the goblin, but it was useless. After a relentless pounding, the goblin launched into the air and drop-kicked Peter across the room. But what nobody expected was to go after Mary Jane next, and that was the line. Adrenaline exploded through Peter's body. He caught the incoming spear with one hand and shoved the goblin back several feet. Then he pressed the attack, using webs to trip the goblin and tearing down the brick wall behind him. When the goblin struggled back to his feet, Peter sent him flying again, fighting like his life depended on it. Peter finally beat the unstoppable goblin into total submission, but this was exactly what the goblin wanted. He slowly removed his mask, revealing a face Peter knew all too well. It was Norman, Harry's father. Norman kept switching between his two personalities, making it impossible to tell which one was in control, but the remote he was secretly pressing made it clear Norman had passed the point of no return. The glider rose slowly behind Peter, while Norman kept playing the emotional card, trying to keep Peter's attention.
Godspeed, Spider-Man.
In the end, Norman was killed by his own weapon. After the goblin's death, Spider-Man carried his body home, and Harry saw the whole thing. From that moment on, Harry was convinced Spider-Man killed his father.
One day Spider-Man will pay.